Welcome back to another episode of Black Girls Texting. It's your girl, Sade. Hey, bitches.
It's your girl, Charles Pinky.
I didn't know we were singing and I'm not prepared. It's Glenn. Oh, I gotta say it.
That was melodic.
Welcome back to another episode of Black Girls Texting. I'm sorry if it sounds terrible. I'm in Mexico. What the fuck is new? I'm joined by Chelsea Pinky and Glenn Betts. Hi, Brat. How goes it?
Hey, girls. All is
Hi.
well. Anybody want to just hop into the unread reply?
There you go. I'm going to reply to this show that I'm literally obsessed with. I did all these stories about it. I want us all to support it. It's a blackity black ass show. It's called Reasonable Doubt on Hulu. Kerry Washington is an executive producer. Larry Wilmore, if you're not familiar with him, he helped make shows like Insecure and The Office and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, he makes great shows. But I really enjoy the show. I feel like the writing is so authentic. I felt like the writing was really authentic. And then I did some research, and the entire writer's room is Black. Every single director of every episode has been Black. So I really want us to support this show. I feel like Hulu has not been promoting it at all. Like, I literally just stumbled upon it. And also, because I'm in LA now, I love watching it because I'm like, oh, I recognize that place. She lives up the block. I see this. So I love the show. So watch it.
No, Chelsea, you recommended this to us a while back. And I don't know why. It took me a little while to get around to it. And then I was watching it before I left town for the holidays. And I was obsessed. Like, I was binging it the whole day before I left. And now I'm in Mexico and I can't get on the Hulu. But as soon as I get back, like, I'm picking it right back up. It's really
I cannot wait for you to see the finale.
It's so good. It's so juicy. It's like this balance of the personal life and then the cases that the main character's dealing with as a lawyer. So it's just good. It's just drama and juice all around and very human.
And I found out it's loosely based off of a real person too, like a real Black lady, cool girl. And then leaving on red. Well, I'm leaving on red the fact that apparently I am now allergic to the East Coast. I went to Charlotte to visit my fiance's family over the holidays, and we both immediately got stuffy. We couldn't breathe. Eyes itchy. Like, it was wild. It happened within 24 hours. And I was like, what the hell? I had no symptoms of anything in LA, but I guess our seasons don't really change versus like in North Carolina, they do. So going forward, before I go to the East Coast, I'll be taking allergy medicine to get my body prepared for the change.
So you're just like a West Coast girl now. You're allergic to the, wow.
Yeah.
It's official now.
It's official. You guys have to come visit and see my life. Sade visited when I had no furniture, but visit now.
No, I'm definitely coming for sure. Oh, show. I mean, I have just hella travels coming up, and I guess maybe that's what I'll reply to. I just had such a fun week in Mexico City with my parents for Thanksgiving. They were just like, yo, you're always in Mexico City. What do you love so much about that city? We want to see it. So I took them everywhere. We had a ball. One of the highlights was going to one of the Luis Barragan homes. He's a Mexican architect. Amazing house. Literally, I was fantasizing and dreaming about living in a place like that. And then I'm going straight from here to Art Basel. Me and my friend were just sitting down going through our itinerary. It's literally like 10 events every day. It's OD. I'm getting my rest and making sure my immune system is ready. But it's just been so cool to just kind of be like moving and flowing and like mixing up the mundaneness of being at home during a damn, daylight savings time and cold ass weather and rain. It was definitely putting me in my feelings. So I'm really fortunate that I could shake it up a little bit, shake up the routine. But I do maybe on red for that. And I saw this, somebody posted on Instagram, something that was like, being on a plane all the time is not the flex they said it was or something. And high key, I'm like, damn, I miss like just being in my own kitchen, doing things in my own house. Like I am looking forward to that feeling when you put the key in your own door, you know? It's a good feeling.
Did your parents like Mexico City?
Yes, they grew to love it. We had some rough patches. My mom left her phone in an Uber. As soon as we got to this beautiful place, sitting down in this like beautiful garden, my mom's like, "Where's my phone?" I'm like, "Lord!" And it was like the biggest, like the day I had planned with all the most amazing activities. Now I'm blowing up this man, trying to find this man's number, going back and filing multiple claims with Uber. My phone died because I'm sitting there texting with these people, wild goose chase, just craziness, just craziness. I took my parents on a taco tour. My dad got wildly sick eating on the street. Like, I was like, Lord, help us all. But by the end,
why did you give them street meat?
I don't know. I wasn't even thinking.
I ain't eating no street tacos in Mexico. Right. Sorry.
I mean, and
my belly's too weak.
I have like an iron stomach, dead ass. But yeah, my dad was like out for the count for a full day. And it was like the day we went to go see the like Frida Kahlo's house, like all these Diego Rivera like exhibits and stuff. And he loves both of those artists. So I was like, damn. I was like, I planned that day for him and he couldn't do it. So that sucked. So they have to come back, you know. I got them in on the fantasy with me. I was like, can't you just see me living in a house like that with all the trees on that street? Don't you just think it's so beautiful? How romantic is this city? You get it, right? And like, they got it. So yeah, it's been so good to be here. Like, so good to be here. Yeah. Sade, what you got?
Nothing to reply to. I'm sorry, y'all. Everything's on red right now. I'm so busy. Life is just really kicking my ass. And I'm sorry that I've been gone and out for the count. But hopefully, I don't know. I would love to say it could get better. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't really have, like, there's not even like a crack of the light. So I have no concept of when my life will slow down. But just keep on keeping on. That's pretty much it. My work is really busy. Everything else is super busy.
But Black Friday's over. It should slow down, no?
No.
Well,
LOL. We can talk about that on the Patreon.
Praise be.
Yeah. But I'm happy you guys are happy. I don't mind that. I'm happy my friends are happy.
Well, thanks, girl. Anybody's hotline blinging? Literally, mine is just blinging with Art Basel. Like when I tell you, these damn events, so many events, and something that somebody just sent me, because last year when we were at Basel, it was like that NFT boom was really happening. And I didn't know people were still about NFTs. Like I thought that now people make fun of people with NFTs, but I guess it's still legitimate or something. I don't know. But there's mad events where you have to have like an NFT crypto wallet to download the invitation. Like I really feel like they're just trying to make this, they're still trying to keep it alive.
Yeah, a lot of people lost a lot of money. Apparently right now you can get really cheap watches like Rolexes and APs and stuff because all the people that got rich off of like NFTs and crypto and all that shit lost all the money, so they had to like sell shit, and like something that's easy to and quick to sell is like a Rolex.
Shut up.
So if you're in the mood for a watch, you could probably buy a used one for a pretty decent price.
Stop.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that whole thing is crazy. See, I knew it. That's why I wasn't even trying to understand that thing. Put my money in that.
Maybe they'll recover. I hope for them.
I hope. Ooh. At least for the ones that like had nothing and really put all their shit in it and lost everything. Maybe not the already rich ass people, but I don't know. Well, should we get into our Black girl doing shit?
Let's do it.
All right, y'all. It's time for the group chat.
I am so excited. We have a Black girl doing shit amongst us in the group chat. Tobi Gbile. She's an entertainment-obsessed storyteller who combines her individuality with her experience in the fashion, TV, and music industries. Tobi is currently based in Los Angeles. Woo! like me. We got to get a drink.
Yes,
She was
please.
she was recently featured on TED.com for her TEDxSanDiego talk and is the global senior campaign manager for fashion and pop culture partnerships at Disney. Co-host of the pop culture podcast, The Weekly Bakey, creative director for rising multi-hyphenate artist TG Beam. Look at me. Published teen fiction novelist of The Stunners and editor behind Girl with Purple Gucci's. Welcome
Girl,
to
you
the
got a
group chat.
lot going on.
A lot going
Oh
on.
my God.
The
Well,
definition
it was
of a
cracking me up.
multi-hyphenate.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. That was the
Amazing.
best compliment to like watch your eyebrows raise as Chelsea
As the
went
list
through.
just kept going. Incredible.
Yeah, so
Incredible.
we watched your TED talk and whew, everyone in this group chat can relate.
Mhm.
We all work 9 to 5s and obviously have a podcast, so that's the 5 to whatever.
It could go very late. We can't even say 9.
Right. Can't even say 9. And we totally could relate. So just in general, can you give our listeners who have not yet seen it, and we'll link it for listeners because it's really good. I think it's less than 10 minutes, so you definitely can easily watch it. What your TED talk was all about.
Sure. And thanks for the intro. I'm super happy to be here. I've been listening to this podcast for years. So definitely a full circle moment to be on here with you both. So, of course, the TED Talk is about really choosing to rebrand the definition of strength to having the courage to choose ourselves. And basically, this was a topic very near and dear to my heart because at the time that I applied to TED, I was going through one of the hardest times of my life, which I talk about in the TED Talk. And it was almost like a therapeutic experience because my TEDx coach was actually a licensed therapist for 10 years. And yeah, and when I was first accepted into the TEDx program, I knew that I wanted to speak about Black women and pop culture and kind of tie the two together, but I more so wanted to talk about the Black woman experience. But then along the way, they kind of wanted to turn the camera to me and talk about my own experience because obviously I'm passionate about this topic, being a Black woman in America. So at that time, which I talk about in the TEDx talk, I had just been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is pretty rare at 25 years old. Normally, it's something that people get in their youth or in their teenage years, but due to what the doctors think, based off of what was going on in my life at the time, due to an immense amount of stress, my body just couldn't fight the way that it needed to, my immune system. So as a result of a lot of the stress that I was facing, my immune system shut down. And when my immune system shut down, my pancreas decided not to work anymore. And I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And being what I like to call a reformed workaholic, it was really hard for me to kind of take that time to rest. So the TEDx talk kind of picks up that week that I had just been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. My mom flew down to LA from Kansas City to come and help me out. And it was the one day that I took off from work during that whole diagnosis period because I was in the hospital. And when I was going to bed that night, I started to like break down crying and my mom asked me why. And I said, because I finally feel like I can take a break.
Yeah.
And that's such a scary and sad thought to think about. And at that moment, and also going through TED and speaking to my amazing TEDx coach, Carrie Lynn, throughout the time, I realized, well, obviously I'm not the only person that feels this way. Obviously, this is something that impacts a lot of us women who are Black women and are members of our community. And then also an added layer, if you're ambitious and work in the industries that we do, you always feel like you need to just give 150% to everything. And that's like, oh, being a girl boss, and oh, that's being strong. But then like, why have we been conditioned to think that that is what strength means? And why does strength as a Black woman have such a higher bar compared to all of our counterparts who are Asian, Caucasian, and come from all these different backgrounds? And different studies that I bring up in the TEDx talk also highlight that. So I was like, the math is starting to math.
Yeah.
These boxes are starting to tick.
Yeah, one of the terms that you brought up that we all found fascinating was the superwoman syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
I had never heard of that, but
You were like
what a great name.
diagnosed with it, essentially.
Yes, yeah. So it's from a woman called Professor Giscombe from UNC Chapel Hill, and it's called the Superwoman Schema. And it's these like 5 different points that she found, her and the researchers that worked on this research study found were really the main points that really made Black women feel like, oh, I have to be a superwoman. I have to show up in these extraordinary ways, whether it's for myself, in the workplace, like with my family, like with my relationships. And when you add all those things together, it makes us carry this unbearable weight because we think that we have to be superwoman just to show up in our everyday lives. And that's super taxing. So I kind of take the listener and the viewers on that journey from me being at the lowest point and realizing, okay, if I'm going to be healthy, I have to shift what I view as strength and success in my everyday life. Because if I want to achieve those things for the rest of my life, the big goals and the small everyday goals, I can't afford to get sicker. Because how am I going to achieve anything? How am I going to show up at work? How am I going to show up in my personal relationships for my family if I continue to get disease after disease and I'm not able to show up in the way that I am? Because I think it's something that's cliche, but we all get told at some point in our lives, like, God forbid you're gone the next day, your job will be on the job board.
No, it's so true.
It's so true. It's so true. And I think like as Black women in particular, I mean, I know Black women and Black people, it's not like a monolith, right? We don't have the same story. Not everyone has like economic issues and etc. But I do think what we do share as Black people is like we kind of represent our race in a way. Like we're not allowed to just be like a person. Like if I fuck up at work, it's the Black girl that fucked up at work. Like if I do something bad, it's like the Black woman, and then that shuts doors for other Black girls coming behind me. So it's just constantly a lot of pressure. I wonder if you feel like how exactly your Blackness has to do with, you know, this idea of strength and like having to always be strong.
And can I add in something really quick that I was hearing what you were saying, Chelsea? I think that is also a result of often being the only in these spaces, right? So then it's like if you do make a mistake, it's glaring because you're the only one there. You can't hide behind anybody, really. And that's problematic within itself that we are the onlys in these spaces.
No, it's perfect. And you bring up a term that I think some of us know, but not many of us know, the whole first, only, different. Something that's prevalent within Black women in these different spaces that Chelsea brought up, but also anyone from a diverse background who is a first or only or different in their space can also relate to that term. But when it comes to what Chelsea asked of how I see my own Blackness, then like having its own definition of strength, I think it's 2 different things. And it's kind of what has brought me to be like, okay, what my mission is in life is to inspire the youth and like the diverse youth coming up through pop culture, and kind of like looking at my own life experiences, finding ways to have them portrayed in the media that we love to absorb, so that we can not only start to understand ourselves better, but so that people can have a better understanding of us. So I came to that because when I was looking at Blackness and my own struggle with strength, a lot of it came from the way that we see Black women portrayed in TV, music, media, the way that we've always been portrayed growing up until recent years, when like Black women and being vulnerable is something that's really come up and it's starting to be supported. But like, that's all that we saw. And because that's what was seen in media, and for a lot of the people who didn't grow up around Black people, that was their only way to really gauge the Black woman experience. That's kind of the expectation that then they set for us. That's the expectation that we saw. So for me personally, that's what I thought that I had to be. And then also going off of what both of you said, in a lot of these spaces that I've worked in or growing up, going to PWIs, being that only Black person, or being the youngest cheer captain, but then, she's also the first Black cheer captain in our team, or being the only Black girl on the pageant stage, but being the first in Kansas to like place within this division on this team. Like always having that pressure of, okay, I can't be tired. I can't slip up. I can't have a bad day. That was kind of rooted in me from such a young age. I would say maybe middle school when I started to get into these leadership experiences, started to join these different teams. And it's like that just then continued to kind of be a red thread in every single experience. Like those different skill sets that I learned in those leadership positions in high school were then what I took with me to my predominantly white institution in college. And me hustling, having 2 different internships, still showing up to class when some of my non-Black friends would be like, oh, I'm just not going to show up, or, oh, I need to take a quarter off. I never felt like I could, because it's like, I have to show up. Like my parents came to this country so that my brother and I can have this experience because of what my ancestors did, because of what my parents did. I can't mess up. So those 3 aspects, I think, have really then kind of shaped the view that I had as a Black woman of strength, and what I'm currently trying to change, and what I got up on that stage to show, hey, we have to change. But it's not like we're starting with a blank slate. We do have those examples of a Simone Biles, and we do have these other examples in our day-to-day lives, or even a Meg Thee Stallion, like speaking up and being like, hey, I'm hurt from the way that you all have been talking about me in music, and showing up like it's not okay. And so the more times that we have people on these spaces and stages and within pop culture speaking up about, no, I don't need to be a girl boss, or, oh, nope, I don't need to be resilient all the time. That's going to allow for more of us to be like, okay, I can too, but it's not going to start until we each start to make that conscious effort.
Yeah,
1000%.
absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chelsea.
I was just going to quickly say, I also was like thinking about, okay, like what is it about Black women specifically? And I was like, oh, is it like an economic thing? Because for many of us, again, not all, but a lot of us, like we are, if we're making a lot of money, it's not like we have family that will just give us money, or, it's like there's economic things. Like I remember when I was in college, or was it high school, and people were taking like gap years, and I was like, what the hell is a gap year? And it was just like they got to travel all over Europe for a year, expenses paid by their parents, and I was like, what? I gotta go to work.
That's an option. That's an option. College.
But then I think about someone like Serena Williams, who obviously has a ton of money, but even she felt like she couldn't rest. Like you watch her her docu series, and she's like, I stood out there and just like hit balls for hours on end till like my arm felt like it was gonna fall off. Like,
right. So it's not only about the money then.
It's not only about the money. It's just like this pressure, or this like, I'm like, I agree that we see it in media, so it's societal, but like, is a piece of it coming from like internally too, like putting that pressure on yourself?
And I think it kind of goes back to what you said. I forgot to say it in my long rant earlier, but about how we have to be a representation of every other Black woman coming after us and Black person. And it's like, I'm sure Serena felt it. It's like, if I don't show up in this space and I'm not the best, they're not going to hire another Black woman on this team, or they're not going to promote this Black person. And it sucks that we're that group that has to represent all these people, or else no one else is going to be able to come up. It's hard, but it's almost kind of like that maternal instinct that I think a lot of Black women carry. And it's like, we want to protect our people. We want to also advance our people. So feeling like we have to carry that pressure is kind of what makes us have this facade of us needing to be strong and not have any off days.
Yeah, and there's like an awareness that people are looking to you, even that people are admiring you, or people are relying on you, or we're often like pillars of our communities. Like I think about all the women in my neighborhood that like hold down the community, the Black Association. It's a Black woman. She's in my emails every day, sending something about what we got to do, the fundraiser, the Halloween thing for all the kids, all the other kids in the neighborhood. She's planning things for them. Like, that's crazy.
She has to make sure their bags are full at the end of the
day.
No,
it's very real. It's very real.
Very real. And I was just gonna say, I wonder, like you mentioned in the TED Talk, that like lifestyle changes are super important. And I wondered if you could share like what some of those lifestyle changes are that you've been practicing, what
For
you're doing
sure.
now.
Yeah. So keyword is practicing.
Mhm.
It is so hard after like we're creatures of habits. Like after years of like thinking in this mindset, 26 years to be specific, it's very hard to rewire my brain. But the first thing that I had to do was really just prioritize giving myself rest. And I think I also had to kind of change my definition of rest because it's not every single day that you can spend 2 hours after work on the couch, like watching TV. So I'm like, okay, how am I going to start my mornings? And for me, that meant, okay, I'm not going to pick up my phone right away, regardless of what I have during that day. Even if I'm only going to work out for 15 minutes, I have to have time that's just dedicated to me and my own wellness. So even if I can't get a workout in, or even if I know I need to get to the office super early, I'll sacrifice a bit of my time so I can make sure to go outside, get that 20-minute walk in before I head out. And then also just kind of setting boundaries when it comes to work, and then also communication. For work, it's one of those things, and my dad would always tell me, it's like, just because someone sends you an email after hours doesn't mean that you have to respond, because like everyone's time is different. And it might be that that person is like, okay, they need to pick up their kids after school, so they're going to respond to things at 7 p.m. But you have to kind of recategorize when's your rest period, when's your time. So really just like giving myself that boundary of being like, okay, I'm not going to check emails after X time is something that I really had to put my foot down on. And it's something that's helped me a lot, because it's like, I think a lot of us struggle with this feeling of always feeling like you have to be available. It's always having to be the girl that gets the job done.
Exactly.
But if you don't set that boundary, people are going to expect you to perform at 160% all the time. So then when you can't, and you're performing at the same level as everyone else, then all of a sudden it's like, is she slacking? But it's like, nope, I had to kind of reassess my bar for what my 100% was, so that I don't push myself. And I would say that's what I did in the workspace. And then the other one, which is key, is also, it goes the same for friends, because I was the type of person before that like the minute you text me, DM me, I have to respond within the next hour, because I'm like, ugh, I don't want this person to think
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so much pressure.
I know. Now you see the way my brain works, and well, sorry, the way my brain used to work. But now I'm like, okay, I don't like, that's part of like putting yourself first, and like having the strength to be like, okay, I don't need to respond to every single person at this time, kind of having that self-control and responding when I want to, if it's not urgent, because I think that also allows me to kind of show up the best for my friends. Because if I'm exhausted, having a long week at work, multiple shoots, et cetera, my responses are not going to be as plugged in. Probably didn't even understand half of what you sent me. So I'm like, if I choose to show up when I can be that friend or family member at the right time, then I'm showing up better in their life. So that's kind of what I had to do, and like in my own like personal life, in order to like make those lifestyle changes and allow myself that time to breathe and not be 100% Tobi all the time. And I mean, they're three really small things, but lifestyle changes are different for each and every one of us. And I mean, have they changed my life drastically? No, but they have helped me a lot in those areas, and giving myself more of that rest, having a bit more balance in my life. And I feel like now that I'm starting to really establish those patterns, it can then allow me to make bigger shifts later in life. But if you guys have any tips, please let me know.
Oh, girl.
Len, what are you doing for self-care?
Good either. I mean, I was just thinking about how today I had a day, like my boss threw like 15 things at me at the same time. And I was just like rattling them off, like done. But really, because if I have things on my plate, I start getting really stressed out. So I wanted to just check them off. But as soon as I check something else, she's throwing me something else and something else. And at one point today, I like literally had to scream. And I was like, this is getting out of control. And I'm going to start having to like ask for help. We just got a new person on my team, and I'm going to I'm setting time with her tomorrow, and I'm just going to show her like some things that I do and be like, you got to own these things. Like, and I think that's one thing, is to like pass things off. But self-care in general, just like my day-to-day, I've just bought some new candles.
Let's go.
I be lighting a candle. I sit here with the lights down low and just like chill out. And I have been working out a lot more, and that is making me so happy. And I tell you, every day I really do not feel like going there. And I don't know how I end up at the gym. Every morning I just be there and
Let's go.
I'm like, I'm here, damn. And then I do the whole workout and then I leave.
I made it.
And it all happened. And now I can go about my day. And I already felt, and especially because I start my morning like that, I feel like I've already done something for myself, just as you mentioned.
Exactly.
So I think, giving yourself to yourself at the beginning of the day, if you can, is so critical. What about you, Chelsea?
Yeah, I mean, same. I don't work out every day, but I do like twice or 3 times a week, which is better than 0, which is what I was doing before. And at the beginning of the day, and it does feel really good. Something that I would love to practice going in the future. And honestly, your TED Talk may spark some inspiration for me to do it, is to like not just jump on my phone and look at emails as soon as I wake up, because currently that's what I do. Look at emails, DMs, text, Slacks. Oh my God, the Slacks.
Depressing news.
New York Times update.
Alert.
The news.
Guard your heart.
But then I wonder, because that's another thing that's catchy right now is soft life. Have you heard of it, Tobi?
No. What is that?
You don't know about soft life, girl?
No.
So soft life, it's like all over TikTok now, and it's like this like Black girl movement. There's soft life, and there's also like Black girl luxury, right?
Oh, I know Black girl luxury, but I don't know about soft life.
Like you just take it easy all the time. Like I feel like there's a balance, right? Like you rest, but you also should be doing shit. Or maybe you shouldn't be doing shit. Maybe that's my capitalistic wired brain where I'm like, produce.
I think I am exposed to soft life, but I didn't know that was the term, because I'm even thinking like 2 hours ago, I saw a TikTok that I saved that was like, I don't want to be a girl boss. I want to be a girl rested. And she's like talking about, exactly. It's the same thing.
And even soft life are like just cozy, indulgent, beauty, like all the good things around you. Like just putting yourself in spaces that don't feel anxiety inducing or intense, but that make you feel warm and soft and lovely.
Yeah.
Like the flicker of a candle and a bubble bath, all those things. I want to do that right now.
No, I know you're like, I know what I'm doing tonight.
Right, exactly.
But Glenn, you said something really clear too that I think we don't say enough, and it was also outlined in the Superwoman schema. To jump back is like also a big facet of this new definition of strength that we have to have is having the strength to ask for help. Because I think we've been conditioned to think that like, oh, if I am a one-woman show, that means I'm the strongest of them all. But it's like having the strength and the willpower to be like, I'm going to put my trust in someone else to do something I care about also takes an immense amount of self-control, reflection, and also having the trust in other people to like show up for you, and then, or also to be okay with them not, and learning and growing from that. That takes a lot of strength, and it's something that we need to be comfortable doing. You're doing an amazing job of it. You've already set up that meeting with your teammate tomorrow to pass things off. Like we need to make it a regular routine.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's true. And that trust thing is real too. Cause like when I started passing some things off, I would still like go behind and check, like, did she finish the stuff? And I just have to stop thinking like that. Like I have to have trust in these people as well. Like people are competent,
Yeah.
They might not do the same job that you would do, but they're doing a good job, or they're doing it differently, but it's still good,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the other part of it is that this whole like strong woman complex or superwoman schema, like it literally caused physical health issues.
See it.
Like it's not just like, oh, I feel. It's like, no, I'm actually making myself unhealthy, and causing issues because of stress and like all this extra stuff. And it's interesting that your doctors were actually able to, or actually verbalize that. Cause I feel like sometimes people don't act like that's like a real thing. Like stress can cause health issues.
Exactly. And honestly, I'm exhibit A, B, and C of that, because my whole life, I thought I was indestructible. Like I'm the same person. I used to be a cheerleader. I would sprain my ankle and show up the next day with it wrapped, still going. And it's like, I had that mentality throughout my entire life. And my parents were always telling me, like, Tobi, you need to take a break. Like, Tobi, we don't want to confess it, but you can get sick. Like, everyone. And it's like, we are the farthest thing from indestructible. And last fall was the biggest wake up call for me. And the reason why they were able to kind of, and I also should like leave the like health disclaimer that scientifically you can't 100% pin the diagnosis of type 1 diabetes to stress. But for my case specifically, they ruled out every other factor. So there was no one in my family with any history of it, no one in my family with any history of autoimmune diseases as a whole. And when we traced back when I started to have the symptoms of type 1 diabetes, it was the morning after I'd had a mental breakdown from work.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was instant. And it was like a 2-week period where I was just feeling awful. And the symptoms kept getting worse and worse. And then at first they thought, oh, maybe she has type 2, because this is something that's also prevalent, like in Black Americans and this and that. But it's like, I'm decently healthy. Like, I work out a lot of times. Like, I used to be an athlete, but like, it just doesn't make sense. And then that's how they landed on the type 1. So it's like, your body will literally warn you. And when you start to get those warning signs, believe it. Because once you get to that point, there is no turning back. And if I could have taken the advice that I had been given my whole life of taking breaks, understanding that I'm not a superwoman or indestructible, like, I wouldn't have this disease. But it's almost kind of like, damn, had I not gotten it, who knows what sort of path or hole I would have led myself down where things could have gotten way worse. It's like, this was my warning. God gave me another chance. Now it's like, okay, this is my story. I did it so that you all don't have to. Please listen to me.
Yeah. No, that's real. And then I wonder, because you said you're a TED coach or person, they worked in, they were a therapist, right?
Yes.
So was that something that you were used to? Like, had you spoken to a therapist before / do you speak to one now because of that experience? Like, your relationship to therapy?
Yeah. So before, I think it's really good that you brought that up, because I think growing up, especially in a West African, specifically Nigerian household, like, therapy was not something that came up. It's like, no child of mine is anxious or depressed. Like, you better sort this out. Like, you are blessed.
Drink some tea.
It's like, exactly. You're fine. Get some sleep. Watch TV. My dad would like come back from the grocery store with the Snickers. Like, it's fine. You're fine. Like, that was our culture. But then in recent years, like, I'm just happy about this like movement of like going towards therapy and things. I had tried therapy a bit in the past, but I wasn't necessarily I don't think you should be at your breaking point before you go into therapy, but I wasn't there yet. And then TEDx, getting my illness, and then also being matched with this TEDx coach who is amazing and still a very good friend of mine. That's when I realized, okay, I actually need to be in therapy in order to work through these things. And it was my doctors, like, thank God they recommended it too. They're like, you're about to go through a lot of change. Yes, this is a physical health thing, but your mental health also needs to be in a good place for you to be able to live with your new normal. And yeah, I mean, I can't preach therapy enough. Like, I'm in it every single week. I think everyone should be in it if they do have the resources to be able to do it. And I like cannot wait for the day that therapy resources could one day hopefully maybe be free so that more people have accessibility to them. But like, it's just helpful to talk to like a non-biased party about what's going on in your life and someone that's real with you. That's not just going to be a yes man or tell you what you want to hear. Like, my therapist goes in on me, like drags my entire life.
Oh my God. I love it.
But I need that. Like, clearly I need the tough love because I have like a pretty hard head and people have been telling me my whole life to do something and I did it and then I got sick. But honestly, like, even going back to how we got to my like TEDx topic, I was not someone that was vulnerable at all in the past. Like, even with my best friends, like family, I would always be like, I'm fine. And then what happened was when I had been diagnosed and I started to tell these people in my circle, like, oh, hey, like, I'm actually not okay. Like, I now found out I have type 1 diabetes. The first thing they said to me was, oh my gosh, like, you're going to be fine. Like, you're the strongest person I know, like, strong, independent woman. And I lost my shit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. And then I literally told my TEDx coach, like, I was so pissed. Like, this was my breaking point. Like, literally, all I wanted to was be like hugged and like comforted.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, well, then why do you think you weren't? And then we unpacked everything. It's like, okay, if all I've ever showed to everyone in every single trial in my life was that I'm fine, I'm going to get through this like I always do, even though inside I was really struggling, they thought that was my normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so they thought that's what they needed to meet me with, because that's what they'd always met me with in the past, not knowing that it's because I never allowed myself to be vulnerable, to ask for help, to have the courage to say I'm not okay, because I didn't think I was going to be accepted, because what I had been conditioned to think was Black women had to be these superwomen. And then she helped me really uncover, like, that's what triggered you. That's what your story is. What can you do now in order to ensure that other people don't feel this way, to change the way that you relate with the ones closest to you, to change the way that Black women portray in the media? And I'm like, yep, that's it. And then that's kind of how we started to formulate my talk. And yeah, honestly, the whole experience was extremely therapeutic. And around that time was when I started therapy with my current therapist as well. So having the both of them in my life was extremely helpful. And just that reflection is super key. So I think especially us Black women, therapy should be a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And what you said also made me think of, you know, it's like a catchphrase, but like check on your strong friends, right? And family members and the people that don't necessarily pour all their stuff out voluntarily. Check on them. And then also have empathy for when people don't check on you because they're dealing with their own shit. Like,
Exactly.
so it's like this, like, you know, just as a whole, as a people, as community, like, let's just be more empathetic towards each other and like, everyone's going through shit. But I also would love to learn a little bit more about the weekly vacay.
Of course. Oh my gosh. Funny that you ask. But yeah, so that's a podcast that I started with two of my best friends from high school, because as you can probably tell, pop culture obsessed. It's what I do my 9 to 5, 5 to 9. And then before I had actually moved overseas to Germany, so like in between college and I guess like starting my adult professional life. I kind of just like wanted a space to just go off with my friends about the different things happening in pop culture. So I texted these two best friends from high school, Jasmine and Sophie, who are the co-hosts on the podcast, like, guys, we should kind of similar to what you all do, Black Girls Texting, but like take our group chat centered around like our music and TV obsessions and make it a conversation for other people, like bring them into it. And that was at the root of it. So we just started it that summer before the two of them finished college. And then I went off to go and start professional work. We just kept it up ever since. So it's kind of meant to be your escape, like with your girlies, talking about all the mess that's happening in pop culture and just kind of giving our takes on it. Yeah.
That's my
Juicy.
fave. And you know what? Yes. And it kind of goes to the whole thing. Absolutely. I will be listening. It really kind of ties into everything we've been talking about, because that's like a nice moment of escapism. And even though, as I'm sure you know, like the podcasting game is work, but it can be therapeutic to get on the mic, and it's soul filling to do something that you're like passionate about. That's just a passion project, you know?
Exactly.
Do it with your friends. That's really cool.
Right. And it's just for us too. And it's something I think that's also helped us, like helped me on my journey. Because when we first started, it was back when I had my old brain, and we were very much like, okay, we need to record every single week, do this, do that. And then along the way, it's like, okay, we need to reassess our expectations of ourselves and one another, like started to get promoted more, getting into very senior positions at work, moving around the world. Literally, it's like, okay, what can we commit to that's still going to allow us to have this be this fun space for us? But then we're not over promising and overstretching ourselves to the point where we don't like this anymore. And we're like, okay, let's record once a month. Is it unconventional? Yes. But if this truly is for us and the audience that we know enjoys this type of content, they're going to understand. And we just kept at it. And I think that's what has allowed us to continue to sustain this. And yeah, we just want to keep it going, but at our pace and how we enjoy it. And yeah, I think we all need some of that in our lives.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Well, I'm so glad that you joined the group chat. Toby and I met years ago in Germany, so I'm glad that you are now on Black Girls Texting and we got to hear more of your story. And I'm so proud of you. The TED Talk was beautiful. We'll share it, and hopefully our listeners also can get a chance to catch up with the Weekly Vacay, your podcast.
Yes,
Where can our listeners follow up with you? Is there anything else that you would like to share?
of course. Well, first off, thank you both so much for having me. And I'm sad I didn't get to meet Shanae this time, but hopefully next time. Yes. And I mean, who would have thought that back? What was the name of that building in Germany? Like Halftime, when we met in Halftime in Germany, like right before COVID, we would be
right
here
before
right now.
COVID.
Yes, years later. But you can find me for all things, all of my projects on tobigbile.com. So my last name, gbile.com. Everywhere on every social platform at Princess Tobi G. And in terms of what you can look out for next, I'm going to be on a speaking stage near you, hopefully soon. Have tons of little gigs coming up at universities around the country, and also looking to continue to just kind of spread the message, get as many people on board so people can start to understand Black women a bit more and get our stories onto screens and stages that matter. So keep up with me.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
and
you
I
so
want to
much.
offline because we did have Zoila Darkton. I forgot.
Oh,
her name.
yes.
And she's like so into rest. I think she's trying to work to make rest
a national day of rest.
A national day.
No
like a
way.
national holiday. Yes.
Oh my gosh. We need
So
to
I'll
link.
connect you guys on Instagram.
Please. Oh my gosh. Yes. Excited to meet her.
Yes. Well, thank you again. And you're always welcome to the group chat, and take some time to rest tonight.
Soft life.
You both too. Soft life queens all the way. Black girl luxury.
Yes. Bye, girl.
Bye.
What would you do?
This week, we do not have a what would you do. So please continue to DM, email, courier, pigeon us your woes, and we will do our best to give you feedback and help and advice. Even though none of us are experts, we're always willing to lend an ear and an opinion. And with that, Chelsea, you want to take us out?
Sure. We are Black Girls Texting. Follow us everywhere at Black Girls Texting. Yeah. Love you guys for listening. We appreciate every single download, comment, subscription, and follow us on Patreon. We have some really good tea on there. Thanks for listening. Love you. Bye.
Bye.